how do we get to a confident space? Competence. Just keep practicing what you're good at over and over again. And it's like being on a basketball court. You make enough shots and then your boy's coming. Now you're talking trash, right? Because you know you practice making this shot.
Welcome to the Phase 4 podcast, inspired by Vishen Lakhiani and Ajit Nawalkar, co-founders of EverCoach, a division of Mindvalley. In this podcast, we speak to coaches and creatives about where they were, where they are, and where they are going. This is an intersection of what we focus on expands, and your story is your superpower. Today, I have the honor and pleasure of bringing to the Phase 4 stage Larry Paul, who is a leader and a light worker. Larry is a money coach who helps his clients transform their financial processes for sustainable growth and peace of mind, with a well-rounded approach that takes into account your current situation and your future dreams and goals. Today, we're going to talk about that, and we're going to make this a bit of a masterclass when we later on talk about the mastermind. So Larry, welcome, and thank you for joining me today.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for welcoming me. I'm excited for our conversation today, not just about mastermind, but how to become financial masters of our own money.
Yeah, I love that. It's such an important thing now in the past couple of years, especially since we've seen the price of everything just double. But I always kind of begin with just, who are you? Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So my academics and most of the time, the way most people meet me is as an accountant, right? I've been doing taxation accounting for 19 years now. This will be my 19th year doing taxation accounting. I've been doing it since I've been 18 years old. And so I just rolled that into my accounting degree. So I got a degree in accounting, and then I started doing bookkeeping and started my own accounting firm back in 2022. And just been, a full-time entrepreneur, helping people develop mastery. Also around 2023, I started doing financial literacy courses in the community. And a lot of people kept coming up to me like, hey, man, can I talk with you more? Like, I want to meet with you like once a month, once every week, things like that. And I said, okay, if I'm going to be giving people this time, I need to roll this into something. And so I started with just being a mentor, but then I started creating my own coaching program. And it's so funny, man, because I started with just working with young men, helping them build confidence, right? Young men coming into real estate, teaching them how to stay inspired when they're waiting to get a deal and things like that. And then I came to find out so many women were interested in the same thing. So today, I probably have more female clients than male clients, but that is kind of how I started. But it also started from making a lot of financial mistakes, and I think a lot of people who develop mastery, they tend to do it by making a lot of mistakes. So when I was 19, somebody tried to run a scam on me, one of those Nigerian prince things, and they send you a check in the mail. Well, I took that check to a bank and cashed it in a bank account, and I took that money out and went shopping, spent it on a bunch of stuff, and that check bounced. So I ended up taking about $6,000 to $13,000 from this bank. I was on like a blacklist, do not service this client. So for 7 years, from 19 to 26, I could not have a bank account. I had jobs. I had to go to check cashing. Every time I tried to open a bank account, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, they would send me a check in the mail and say, take your money back. You can't bank here, right? And so luckily, I got a job with AT&T, and I said, let me call TD Bank and see what they'll do. And so I called TD Bank, and they say, all right, Mr. Paul, we'll give you a chance. We'll open up an account for you. And I've had an account with them for the last 11 years because they took a chance on me, man. And so, I tell people these things because mastery is not overnight. It's habitual development, right? Same thing is the English language, right? There was a point in time, JP, where me and you did not know all these words. So we couldn't communicate this well. We had to grow up and learn that, right? And so that's the first thing I like to teach people, especially with their money. It's okay. Wherever you start from, we can always come out of it.
I love that. I love the idea of mastery. I know that me and you are both very passionate about it, not just for financial, but for everything in life. And my very first bank account was a TD bank account. And the reason why was because at the time they were the only ones that were offering, if you open up a bank account, we'll give you $5.
That $5 sold you, and it was a great investment, man. Good job. No, it's so funny, and they actually started in Canada, I believe, and came down. And so it's so funny because I'm so connected to Canada in so many different ways. So many amazing individuals I know in Canada. Toronto, I went to the Dominican Republic, met a bunch of amazing people from there. So Canada, that's my home away from home.
I love it. So yeah, TD stands for Toronto Dominion. And I'm going to Dominican in a couple weeks, actually, for my 15th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations, man. Oh my gosh. It's so funny. Today, 10 years ago today, I proposed to my wife. Okay. Yeah. So I proposed to my wife on my birthday. And I did that strategically because I know I'll never forget the day I proposed to my wife, right?
That's brilliant.
But no, man. Yeah.
I guess we got to say happy birthday then here.
Right, I get a happy birthday from her, and then we always get to share that day. You know what I mean? To me, it's ways that you can show love, right? But how much better could you show love than sharing a day that's your day with your significant other?
100%. I met my wife on September 23rd, 2006. And all of her friends are so amazed whenever I tell them, like, how do you know that exact date? Like, wow, no guys do that, right? I go, yo, Michigan, Notre Dame was losing to Michigan 30-0 at halftime and they won. So then 10 years after that day, my daughter was born on September 23rd, 2016, which is just, when you're talking about dates and alignment and everything, it's crazy, right?
It really is. My wife's birthday is September 19th, so it's so close to what you guys have going on. And it's funny, I met her April 1st, 2010, and people say, how do you remember that, Jay? Because it was April Fool's Day, and the day before I lost my job, right? It's because of those emotional things. I went to a job fair the next day, and when I was coming home from that job fair, me and some of my friends were hungry, so we stopped at McDonald's. I went into McDonald's. I seen my wife sitting down. Some of my friends was like, "Lad, go over there and talk to her. Go over and talk to him." So I order my food. I walk over and I say, "I see you looking at me. Give me your phone number." And she just started laughing. She gave me her number, and 15 years later, here we are.
That's awesome. So we're going to go into more of the podcast conversation, but something to highlight right there is you lost your job, but the very next day you went out and tried to attack it again instead of just sitting there. It's so easy for people to, not just jobs, but whenever we have a loss or a fail, we kind of just like leave it there. But you came right back the next day. I heard Ed Sheeran in a YouTube. He was talking about failure. And you said it at the very beginning when you were talking. But he was saying we don't talk about it. We don't celebrate it. Nobody wants to know about failure. We hide it. Only want to see success. And success is like whoop-de-doo, right? Like that's what happens at the end of failing hundreds of times, he said. And I'm like, wow, that's a good one because I talk about failure a lot, and it's so important. You have to fail in order to grow.
Absolutely. Success is a math equation, and it's failure plus failure plus failure plus failure plus failure equals success.
Wow, that's awesome. So as you can see, we've already started his interview on fire. So I guess so it's financial literacy right now as far as work. That's like your sole mission, right? And so you were inspired partly because of your history. You don't want other young people to go through it. And I think when we're young, you don't think about it. You don't care about it. But it's so important as you grow older. Like you're saying, that FICO score you need that, right? To get a mortgage, to get a loan, to get a car, to do anything, to open a bank account. And so that's your personal journey and your soul's mission. And so how are you elevating that first in your community? But I think we're going to go online and do this worldwide now, right?
Absolutely, man. And so, it's funny. As I told you before, when I was 26 years old, in July 1st, I became a behavioral youth specialist. So I got to work with children between the ages of 5 and 14. They would come and live in my home with me between 9 months to 2 years, and I would help modify those behaviors. So a part of creating IEPs, doing things like that. And I just love working with the kids. I had 27 kids come through my program. all 27 went to a lower level of care or got adopted. And so that was the mission and the goal. But as I was doing that, I started to realize a lot of the kids who had traumas and behaviors got that from adults. And so I said, I want to make more of an impact, and we don't have enough people helping adults. So I started to do some studying on what's the best way I can help adults. Should I be a therapist and talk with them therapeutically? Because I would know how to do that now. How should I do that? And then I started just studying divorce rates. 80% of people get divorced because of finances. Okay. I started to look at economics development. I started to look at some of the best communities, and the best communities have financial literacy, meaning they understand how spending $1 in my community comes back to me when I have something I provide to my community, right? And so just understanding how money works, how economics work, I felt like it was the best way that I could help my community. And then when you understand that the average American comprehends between a 3rd and 6th grade level, then that means strategically we just have to make our stuff more simple, right? So I created a 12-step framework for anybody that says, I want to be financially literate. I want to be a financial master. I want to have control of my finances. I created a simple 12-step process to create a foundation for growth and then protection of those assets. And if you don't mind, I can go through the 12 just so your audience hear. Yes. Okay. Awesome. So the first one is the simple. I'm sure everybody has heard, start with a budget, right? And if I ask most people, do you have a budget? Most people would say, yeah, I know how much I spend and I know how much I make. But then I'll start saying, okay, down to the dollars and the cents. How much did you spend last month? And they'll say, I don't know. Okay. That means you don't have an accurate budget. Because if you had an accurate budget, you would know dollars to cents, right? So the first thing is understanding there's 2 budgets you actually have to create. Because most people don't have a lot of money, but they have a lot of time. And also, most people would say that time is more valuable than money. So if you're going to budget for your money, why wouldn't you budget for your time? And so what I do is I help people create what's called a time blocking template. And it's funny, you shared a video with me the other day, the 168. And the reason why that number is so powerful, people, is because there's 168 hours in every week, right? We all say there's not enough hours in a day, but there's enough in a week, right? And so what I do with my time blocking template is I go out through each day, Monday through Sunday, draw out all 12 hours or 24 hours in that day, and I ask you to fill it up with everything you do, hour for hour. If you go to sleep, when you wake up, if you go to the gym, if you at work, I want you to see what you do. And audit how you live. So, because most of us, when new opportunities come, we say we don't have time for it. And I just want to blow your mind with how much time you really have, right? But you have to see it. It's not enough for me to say it. You have to see it. And so we create our budget with our expenses and our revenues. Yes, that's our yes list. A budget is not your no list. It's your yes to the things you really want list. And you have to fall in love with your budget, okay? And when the last thing I'll share with you guys on the budget, simple budget. If you want to know a framework, the 1st, the 15th, and the last, okay? The first day of the month, you should go to your budget, list out all your revenues, all your expenses, what you expect it to cost, and just build out the template. On the 15th, you should be checking everything you spent from the 1st to the 14th, jotting it down. You're going through your bank account, just checking those 2 days, okay? Those 14 days. On the last day of the month, you should be doing exactly what you did on the 15th, checking all your expenses from the 15th to the last day of the month. And so on the last day, you should have a full, complete budget of what you brought in, what you spent, and you should know what you can save and invest. And now that we talked about that, let's move right into number 2, which is our savings. And
can I ask a question just before we go there? So that part with the 1st, the 15th, the 30th, you're talking about time, right? But this, if you do it that way, 3 segments, that shouldn't even take a long time. It should take less than an hour for the entire month almost, right?
Absolutely. 3 days, which is only 10% of your month, and it's only going to take you 30 minutes to write this down each time. So we're talking about an hour and a half, guys, for you to get control of your financial future. Not 8 hours, not 2 years, not this long amount of time, right? 30 minutes, 3 times a month. You guys can do it, right? And so with that, as you guys start to do this, because I know we got some 1%ers watching this podcast, okay? So I know somebody's going to create that budget, and once you do, you're going to move into our number 2, which is save. Now, the only thing I like to tell people about saving is you have to do it after you have your budget, because your savings, you only want to save up to 6 months of your expenses. So you need to know what your expense number is per month. Let's say you're spending $3,500 a month. The most amount of money you want to have saved up in your savings account is 6 months worth of your expenses. So if you were saving, let's say your expenses was $3,500 a month, 6 months of expenses will be $21,000, right? Anything above that should be going towards investing, okay? Not saving anymore. At this point, it's the law of diminishing returns, okay? That money should be going somewhere else for opportunities, okay? But the $21,000 should be liquid in case you run into any emergencies. You know you can handle your bills for 6 months. You know you can live, survive, and things like that, okay? And savings is all about the best strategy that works for you. If you don't have a strategy, I recommend starting with the 20-50-30 rule. So a lot of people call it the 50-30-20 rule. I call it the 20-50-30 rule because I think you need to pay yourself first. So 20% goes to you, your savings, your debt, your investments, okay? Those are the only 3 things you pay with that 20%. The 50% goes to your needs. So that's your living expenses, your car, your eating, things that you absolutely need to survive. And the 30% is to your wants. We can't be this structured and not have fun. I want you guys going to the movies. I want you taking vacations. I want you having fun. Hey, saving your money and getting financially fit does not mean we don't get to have fun. It actually means you get to have more fun, okay? So after we go into your savings, we move into everybody's favorite. And to me, it's the most easiest to control, your credit. Okay. And oh my gosh, the best thing I can do for you guys is just tell you, simply put, go to Credit Karma, because when I found out, I went to Sears, me and my wife applied for credit cards, and they sent me a mail and a letter, and they said, Mr. Paul, your credit score is 390. Now, luckily, I was not financially literate. I did not know that was bad, people, okay? I just thought that's where you start off at if you're young and you ain't use it, right? And so I said, okay, I got to fix this stuff. But in 3 years, I took that 390 to a 740. And by the time I was 31, I bought my first home. When in America, the average American buys it at 34, right? And so understanding credit was so vital and so important. And I learned the principles and the basics right from Credit Karma. And there's only 6 things you have to worry about with credit, okay? Pay your bills on time, okay? Keep your utilization low. So if you have a $1,000 limit, only spend $300 or less, okay? You want to keep that utilization under 30% to keep your highest score. The next thing, derogatory marks. All you have to do is follow step 1 and you won't have to worry about step 3. Derogatory marks tend to come when you don't pay your bills or when you have outstanding things, maybe a hospital bill, high expenses that come up and they might go into collections. But I would recommend, if you do have a job, call them, learn how to negotiate and get that down for you. I do help some of my clients and some of my students negotiate their debts, right? And then you have mixed accounts. So you don't just want to have credit cards, right? You want to have store cards. You want to have a car payment. You want to have a mortgage. You want to show the credit people that you know how to use all forms and types of credit, okay? And the last one is inquiries, right? So you don't want to just be running your credit 100 times a year, right? You want to keep it low. I recommend twice a year, but if you have really good credit, it really doesn't kill you. Maybe 2 or 3 points every time you run it. So if you have a 750 or a 760 and you want to use your credit for real estate purposes, business purposes, and things like that, feel free to do that. But just be mindful. It does hit your credit every time you get a new inquiry, okay? And so that's our credit portion.
Then we go in there for a sec. So you're saying to pay it all off. You said pay the bills, but you're saying like for sure, just as long as you pay the minimum, whatever. You obviously would like to pay more, but make sure you're paying the minimum every month. Yeah. And one other thing that we learned the hard way, there was a time a long time ago where we thought credit cards were bad. We didn't want credit cards. So my wife didn't have any, right? We had a couple for certain things that we just needed, but my wife didn't have any at all. So then we go to renew our mortgage and they're like, we can't give you a mortgage. We're like, why not? They're like, you don't have any credit. We're like, what are you talking about? We thought it's better not to have bills, right? But really, so basically what they say is like, get a credit card, put your phone bill on there, put your insurance on there and pay those off every month.
I'm so happy you said that, JP, because you're absolutely right. And for anybody watching this, if I had the option, would I spend in credit or would I spend in debit? I always want to spend in credit because my credit cards give me points. They give me perks. They give me miles if I want to fly. My debit card just lets me spend my money. So if I have one rule that I have is we only spend on our credit card what we have in our debit account. So if I have $2,000 in my debit account, then that's really what I have on my credit card. And then as soon as I charge something, I pay it right off. So back a few years ago, you used to have balances on your credit accounts to get credit for it. Now, you don't need that. You just need to have the account open. And with a zero balance, they will give you credit for a payment. So it is very vital that you open a credit card as soon as possible so you can kind of jump on that. And I want to give people a hack. So for anybody who has children, and if you want to give them a faster start than maybe you might have had, at 12 years old, you can actually put your children on your credit card as authorized user and start their credit history 6 years before they're 18. So imagine when they go to apply for a credit card at 18 years old, they have 6 years of credit history when they apply. As long as your credit is not destroyed, they will have good credit. But even if you are, take them off of yours. And if you have a relative that has a 740, there does not need to be a relationship to actually be an authorized user on anybody's credit card. So for parents who are foster parents or step parents, you absolutely can put your step kids or your foster kids on. There is no limit to anybody. You can also help a friend or brother or sibling, right? And so I just like to tell people ways that they can help. And I call this piggybacking, right? So if I do the work to get my credit up, it's okay if I let some of my friends piggyback off of what I did, right? And so once you help people, man, it's gonna be like an addiction, man. It is really fruitful to be able to help people with this knowledge. And with that, the sister to credit is debt, right? And you have some amazing people like Dave Ramsey, who I adore, and I believe he has amazing teachings. But I just do not agree with debt. With how he views debt. Debt is not bad. Debt is reactionary. So for example, I have good credit. I have a 740 credit score. And I have $50,000 in the bank. I want to become a homeowner. So I find a house that's $200,000. I want to buy that house. I say I'm going to put 20% down. That's $40,000. I have it in the bank. I go and put that down. So now, as I use my credit to buy this asset, which is my house, what's going to happen is now I have $160,000 worth of debt that I have to pay. It is not bad. It is reactionary. The whole reason I worked and built my credit up was for the opportunity to get into debt. Now, debt is only bad when you do not have a plan for it. Okay? And this goes for any type of debt. For students, that's going to take financial aid. You should have a plan for when you graduate. What are your steps? What jobs do you want to have? And how are you going to pay back your student loans? Because you will have to pay them back. And it's better to have a plan and be expecting it instead of being surprised and you caught off guard, right? And so we should all have a plan for the debt we plan to accrue. But one thing I would say is the first time you get into debt, the first thing I went into debt on was a house. I recommend everybody, the first thing you go to debt on is a income generating asset. Okay. So that could be a house that you don't live in, but it could be something like a truck, right? A 18-wheeler. It could be something like a business. It's anything that's going to generate capital for you every month. Okay. Because then once you buy that, you can use that capital to spend money.
So debt is good if we're using it to buy something that appreciates and not depreciates?
Yes, or something that generates cash flow. So appreciate and depreciate, that's normally real estate stuff or sometimes business machinery stuff, right? But for most people, if you invest in almost any business, it's kind of worth it, right? I mean, if you have skills, if you have a good idea and a good team, right? And we're kind of going to get into that. And last but not least, after we go, it's the last of the foundation, and that's taxes. When you make any amount of money, if you're a business owner, if you do anything, you are going to have to pay tax. And the best way to framework taxes is to create a paradigm where you just understand the government is the largest nonprofit in the country. And taxes are our donation. Okay. And it's also our reward for being able to play the game we call business. So Robert Kiyosaki, he wrote an amazing book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. Okay. And one of the most important pieces in that book are the 4 quadrants. And he talks about how you have employed, self-employed, business owner, and investor. But the thing is, employed and self-employed are not able to take advantage of the tax code as much as business owners and investors. So the point of that section is you want to get to that side of the book. You want to become a business owner and investor. And that just means you want to invest in things with your money, and you want to get the best tax rate possible, which comes with capital gains and things like that. And so these are all things you want to learn, and this is what I call the foundation. So for anybody who comes to me and says, yes, I want to get started, these are normally the first 5 pieces I get started with them with: a budget, savings, credit, debt, and taxes. So that is your financial foundation. Okay. I'm sorry. Do you have any questions, JP?
I was going to just ask you, I was just going to point out, like, and it doesn't matter where you're at today, like wherever you are, just start where you are. Arthur Ashe said it, start where you are, do what you can, use what you have, and time will collapse itself. Like, it seems so far because of where you are today that, 5 years, 10 years, but you're going to be there anyway. And what happens is along the way, you start to grow, you learn more, you get better at it. And then the 5 years actually becomes 3 years. So just start wherever you are.
Absolutely, guys. And 80% of people let the start stop them. So don't let the start stop you. Okay, guys? Most people just need to get started. Then you'll start seeing you can do it. And then you'll start building up that amazing C word we call confidence, right? And confidence is that secret key. It has to be grown from within, man. And how do we get to a confident space? Competence. Just keep practicing what you're good at over and over again. And it's like being on a basketball court. You make enough shots and then your boys come and now you're talking trash, right? Because you practice making this shot. And if y'all didn't know, I did play basketball, won a state championship in high school. So sports, discipline, I'm here for, right? Go Eagles, go Birds, right? And so no, man. And so after you set your financial foundation, most people are now in that personal and professional development phase. So now we need to go into the growth. And the growth financial stage, there's 4 sections to growth, okay? The first one is investing. And there's 4 main things most people invest in. If you want to get started with the basics, number 1, stocks, right? And it's funny because number 1 and number 3 are kind of connected, but stocks is just a business you trust, right? A business you know that is run right. And what you're saying is, I'm going to give you my money so you can take care of it because I know you run a company well, right? Like Apple or Amazon or Walmart or any big businesses that we see grow, right? We trust those companies, right? So stocks, always a good thing to start with. Real estate, right? Anybody just historically, real estate has always gone up, and people, ever since we've created dwellings, they are one of those things we consider necessities, right? And so it's an amazing thing to invest in. Also, real estate comes with a magical thing called appreciation and depreciation, okay? So it raises in value over time, but also it lowers in value over time. And real estate is one of the only things in our country that does that. So real estate is a really hot investing topic. The next thing is business, right? Generating cash flow assets. If you have a cousin that knows how to cook pizza and they just need a couple dollars to get started, and you help them, you come and you have $20,000 that you can invest in that business, and you partner up and he turns that into $1 million pizza place, right? That is part of the American dream. Not just you having to do it, but you having the capital to do it, to invest in other people's businesses, right? And last but not least, the best thing that you can invest in is yourself. But I want people to understand what that means, because the first time I heard invest in yourself, I didn't know what it meant. When you hear people say invest in yourself, it means acquire skills, acquire value, acquire knowledge that no matter what happens to you, no matter if you lose your house, you lose your car, you lose all your clothes, you can take that with you. It doesn't matter where I go, who I'm with, how I'm dressed. Financial mastery is in me. And so I need to take that everywhere. And so that's investing. Go ahead.
I think in Think and Grow Rich, there's a quote, I'm going to get it wrong, but it's something like, the guy didn't realize that more money was mined from the minds of men than from their actual physical bodies of doing labor. Like,
Think and Grow Rich was the first book. I read it in December of 2013. It was the first personal development book I ever read. And it's so funny because we're about to get into it because we said we was going to talk about masterminds, but that was the first book that I read that you have to have burning desire and you want to have a mastermind, right? And so Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, 1931 is still almost 100 years later. Get that book, people.
Yeah, that's my most highlighted book, my most read book. I have a question about investing. So this is going to be for the people who are just beginning, who didn't know, who are like, hey, this is actually interesting. When you're talking about investing at the beginning, are we trying to get back dividends right away, or are we trying to go long term and just go low, go slow?
So it would depend financially where you are, right? And the more capital that you're able to start off with, the more options that you have. So if you have less than $1,000, I say it's more important to just get started because even if you do get any dividends, it's going to be something really low because it's based on the balance of your money, right? So if you only have $500 or $600 in there, although you can get a dividend, it probably won't be any more than 5 to 6 cents, right? And so I like to set expectations and I want people to know strategy, right? Some people invest for the long term. So if you're younger, you want to be more set up for a longer financial future, then that makes more sense, right? But also if you're somebody who's a little bit older and you want to use these dividends, but maybe you have a 401k with $800,000 in it. Now you transfer that to a real good piece of stock. Now you can get back a nice, good, healthy $5,000 a month, on a dividend, depending on where you place your money and things like that. So I would say it really depends on the amount of capital you have should dictate your strategy. But I always recommend talking to an investing professional. I am not an investing professional. I do work with a plethora of them because, I sit here and talk about financial mastery. So the things that I don't know, I work with professionals that do know. Right. And some certain things I've studied. So I am certified in credit, budgeting. I've been doing that for years, debt management and taxes. I've been taxation accountant and managerial accountant doing bookkeeping. So those things I am like a master of. But the investing, I have smarter people tell me what to do.
That's a smart thing too, right? Leave it. If you don't know, don't waste your time. Stick to what you're good at. Some people stick to your lane instead of trying to do everything, right? It's same with coaching. Sometimes I'll be like, dude, I am not your coach, but I know who is.
There you go. And that's the point of all of us being together, right? Because also our clients need to resonate with us to listen to us, right? And so if you don't resonate with me, although I might have good stuff to share with you, you just won't be able to grasp it the way you would if JP was your teacher, right? And so it's important to know that and not get defensive about it. Could you imagine if there was coaches who got upset because clients didn't like their style or things like that? Like there's 9 billion people on earth. You gotta be fine with that, right?
Yeah.
And so investing, that's to me, that's the fun section. That's where you just play around, take some risks, get some crypto, get some stuff, try some things out, right? Because normally you're only investing because we got those 6 months up in savings, right? We're still making money. So investing is like extra. That is when the cup is running over.
Yeah. And if you want your money back quickly, don't go into crypto. You're going to have a nervous breakdown watching it go up and down, up and down, up and down.
Oh,
so we got budget, saving, credit, debt, tax. That's the base. That's the foundation. Now when we move into growth, which includes investing real estate, investing in...
No. Investing, I just told you the 4 top things to invest in. Okay, so investing was just the first one, which is number 6. Number 7 would be entrepreneurship. Okay.
All right.
And so with entrepreneurship, what I like to teach, and I do business coaching because being an accountant for 19 years, I started to meet different business owners, see different people making different amounts of money. And I started to understand there's 4 main things that help a business function. So I like to share it with people. So in case they have aspirations of starting their own business, or we have some coaches here, they can know what are some of the most important things in business. Okay. So if you are going into business, you're about to create your business, there are 4 main things you need to focus on. 4 main systems. Number 1 is your sales system. You have to know how you're going to sell your product. How do you uncover the value of what you have and how does it help other people? Okay. Because sales is service. Okay, so you need to know how your product or service serves others and know how to present it so you can sell your product. So sales is number one. If you don't master sales, unfortunately, you do not have a business. Okay. Number two, marketing. Now you've mastered sales. Now we need to share you with the world. We need more people to see what you have, what you give, how you help. So now they can come and see you. And I never recommend anybody sharing their sales because our ideas of us are terrible, but others tend to see the best in us. So I recommend you get somebody to market you for you. When I meet people and they're on their own social media trying to share, trying to think, the first thing they're thinking is, oh, I don't look good in this photo. I'm not going to share it. Or these words don't sound right. Your marketing director never thinks about that. They see you in the best light and they make sure the words are perfect for you. And so marketing is number two. And in case a lot of people think marketing and branding are the same, I'm going to give you guys a short and easy way to understand the difference. Marketing is what I say about myself. So I come in the room and I say, guys, I'm a great accountant. I'll take care of you guys. I'm going to handle what I have to handle and you'll be satisfied. That is marketing. Branding is what you guys say when I leave the room. So if JP brings Larry up and he says, Larry is a great accountant. He helped me last year with my books and it was perfect. Or Larry made a mistake because it happens, right? And like, whatever people say about you when you're not there, that's your branding, right? And then what you do consistently over time. So we know McDonald's for fast food, right? When I'm talking a health conversation, I'm never bringing McDonald's up. That's not what they're known for, right? They're known for fast food. And so branding is what you're known for, what people bring up when you're not in the room. And so that's marketing in a whole. The next third step is financial management. You're making sales. You got more customers coming in from the marketing. Now you're making money. You got to learn how you divvy up stuff. So they're called expenses. In business, expenses are your friend. Okay. So you got to have somebody tracking your finances so we can know all of our expenses. And you need to know how much revenue you're bringing in for tax purposes and things like that. All right. So that's your financial management. And also you need a guy just telling you what to do with your money. If you are a plumber and your plumbing services are doing great, you know what you don't have time to do? Count your money. You have to be out there being a plumber. Right. And so these positions that I just spoke about, sales, marketing, financial management, these are also the first positions you should hire in your business in that order. So if you're somebody who's like, I don't know who the first person to hire is, I don't know where to start, how do I do that? You start with a salesman because they automatically assist the bottom line. Then you go with marketing because they're going to get work for you and your salesman. Then you hire your accountant because now they can track the money that you're making. Okay, so that's the system. And last but not least, number 4 is your systems and your processing. Do you know why God created men? He created men to be managers of his domain. So this earth, we are the managers. We cultivate it. We farm it. We do all the things. God looks at us from above. That is how you are supposed to be in your business. You are not supposed to be working in it. You are supposed to be looking at it, have managers, have people that run it for you, and you are just making sure there's money inside and everything is good. Okay. If you are working in your business, you are self-employed. If you are working out of your business and being able to oversee things, you are now, my friend, a business owner. And we call those systems or automation and delegation, right? Hiring people, giving people commands, telling them where to be, but also giving them the tools and the technology to be successful. So that's entrepreneurship in a nutshell. If you follow those 4 things, I promise you your business will be off to the races and you'll be ahead of 80% of people out there.
I love it. A lot of leadership qualities seem to like trickle over to both to that.
Absolutely, man. Because, it's one thing about personal and professional development. We want to be more. And the thing about business is spiritual. It allows me to be more. When I do more of it, when I do it right, I create more. Walmart started off as one store, but so many people seen value in it. So now it's over 2,000 Walmart locations, right? McDonald's started off at one location, but now you can find them all over the world. So business is spiritual. It allows you to be anywhere, everywhere, all at once, right? And so I love business. And most people who get into personal and professional development will end up in the entrepreneurial space, right? And so the next 2 are kind of there to help you with that last one. So the first one is a mentor. If you were going to start a business, right? This is number 8 in our growth. You need a model. You need somebody who has done the thing that you are about to set on the quest to do. And in our world today, yes, you may be an anomaly, but there's still places and things you can correlate to help you move further. So a coach, a mentor, a model, you need somebody to guide you just a bit.
How do you find that? How do you find that person, or how do you like even almost engage that person? Like, okay, the reason I'm asking is when I was looking for a mentor, I went one way and somehow the mentor came from a totally other way, but I saw it coming. But I always think that a lot of people are like, man, where do I even start? And like, what if he says no? And
So in the world we live in, we have YouTube. And so the funny part is, you have to be careful, right? Like your mentor, there's a difference between a mentor and an influential person, right? Your mentor, you should have their phone number in your phone. You can call them if you need them, right? Influential person is not that. That is the person that gives you that feeling. Might be somebody you see on YouTube all the time, every day, and you're listening to them and they're teaching you things, but you have no way to communicate with them. You comment on their videos, they never respond, right? Like that is not necessarily your mentor, although they might have taught you a bunch of different things, right? And so the first thing is just understanding the difference, but it starts off with learning with yourself, right? You got to learn what's important to you. What makes you excited to do, right? And then you look at things as a movie and you say, okay, if this was a movie, who would I like to play? Because nobody really thinks anybody has a better life than them. So you can't say whose life would you want to have. But if this was a movie, whose role would you don't mind playing for a day, right? And then that person that you choose, that's 9 out of 10 your model. You like the things they do. You like the things they say. You like their swagger. And so then that's where it starts. What are you attracted to, right? And then also, I have 120 influential personalities. So there are a plethora of people that I've written down who have had influences in me being the person that I've become. And so I say that to say 9 out of 10, you guys are going to have multiple mentors because nobody is perfect at one thing, right? I have a financial mentor. I have a spiritual mentor, right? Pastors, right? I have a physical mentor, right? I have a brother that got me into running. And if you see him, he looks like Captain America, right? But like that's who I listen to for that thing, right? And then I have mental mentors, people, therapists that I used to work with who give me mental exercises and stuff. So you may have 5 to 6 mentors. And that's one thing I want to get you comfortable with, because sometimes it's so hard to make a decision. We say, but what if I make the wrong decision? It's okay. Get comfortable making the wrong decision, but make so many that eventually you got to make a right one. Eventually you got to make a good one. But life is about getting comfortable making decisions. I actually have a friend right now. We are doing a 30-day thing to perfect the habit, and I have to send him make a decision every day.
Accountability.
Yes, sir. That's the name of the game. That's why I love being an accountant. Because I tell people all the time, being an accountant, it really just means I'm an accountability partner. I hold you to the goals and the dreams that you set for yourself.
You have the ability to account.
That's it. That's it, man. And so with that, once you find that mentor, the most awesomest thing that's going to happen naturally from finding that mentor is we're going to go off to number 9. We're going to find that mastermind. And your mastermind, if this is a journey, your mentor is the person that gave you the GPS. Your mastermind is the people that's about to take the trip with you. Okay? Those are the people that are also on the journey, might be doing different things, might have a different business, but they know exactly what you're going through because they're on the same steps and walking that same path with you. All right? I recommend you have 2 different types of mastermind. I recommend you have a mastermind that specializes in what you do. So let's take JP, for example. JP is a podcast, right? He has podcasts. He's into that. So I would recommend JP being a mastermind that is fully encompassed with people who do podcasts, right? But then I would recommend that you have a mastermind where everybody is different. Everybody does something different. You have a marketing specialist, a sales specialist, you have an author, different people, because now you're about to learn your field, but you're also going to learn different skills faster. A mastermind is truly there to speed up time, help you learn things. Same thing that a mentor does, but we tend to be more vulnerable with the people who are going through it with us. Right.
Yeah. So can I jump in there for a sec? So there's a book called Blue Ocean Strategies, and the idea is that all the greatest in each industry, the way they succeed, where everyone's a red ocean, and you want to be in the blue ocean. But in order to get there, it's people coming from outside the industry who can see a different way that it works. That's like everyone in the industry is doing the exact same thing as each other. So someone comes out from computers, goes into plumbing, and they're like, okay, I figured out this way of doing plumbing that nobody in plumbing would ever think of. So that's what you're saying with that mastermind, where people aren't all doing the exact same thing, but you're all trying to grow. You're going to find all these different ideas and opinions that you might not even be able to find yourself because you're just not thinking that way, which is perfect.
Absolutely. And if you are on YouTube and if you are familiar with Mr. Beast, one of the main reasons why Mr. Beast is Mr. Beast today, one of the top 2 YouTubers on the planet, is because he started off on YouTube and he had a mastermind of about 4 or 5 friends, and they would get on YouTube every day for about 10, 12 hours and talk about the algorithm and talk about what made people see this here and what reaction did I get and how many people seen this in the first 10 seconds. And they started to really understand. So when you get with a mastermind, it's also going to help you get to become a deeper level of mastery than you could obtain on your own. Right. And so a mastermind is just a hack. And this is how you have all these people. If you see actors or if you see rappers have a party and do things like that, it's because they are a part of each other's mastermind. Right. And it helps them be better at what they do. So that is your growth phase. That is your investing, your entrepreneurship, your mentor, and your mastermind. You get those 4 things down, you are going to grow almost automatically. Okay, it is going to be hard to not grow with those 4 things. Okay. And last but not least, you've got your foundation. You've gotten your growth phase. Now you are already to the money, but now we got to protect it. Okay. Because I don't know what it is. Me and all of my mentors, we have all gotten ridiculously wealthy, but then we lose it. And it's like, what the heck happened? I had this and I had that and I did this and I did that. But what happened was it wasn't built on a sturdy foundation. Okay. And so the first step in protection is understanding the importance and the necessity of insurances. Okay. That is where we start, because so many of us do not prioritize the correct insurances the correct way. And I'm going to share some stats with you to show and just show you it's not important. So if I gave you 3 things, right? If I gave you, JP, a car, a house, and your life, can you tell me in which ways, what is most important and what is least important?
Yeah, so
a house and your life.
For me, it's life, because if I'm not here, somebody has to pay the car payment and the house payment.
There you go. And so what would be number 2? The house or the car?
It's obviously, for me, the house. It's worth a lot more. It's a more important investment than just having the car as number 3.
And the car is number 3. However, in America, 95% of Americans have car insurance. 80% of Americans have home insurance. 50% of Americans have life insurance. But your life is more important, your house is more important than your car. But 95% of us insure our cars, 80% of us insure our houses, and 50% of us insure our lives. That, to me, lets me know we have a fundamental non-understanding of how insurance works and how important it is. Because our life is our most important asset and we do not protect it. And we are all guaranteed to die. So it doesn't make sense not to make sure you have life insurance, right? But it's also not just to sell people on life insurance but it's to show you the importance of health insurance. It's to show you the importance of car insurance or homeowners insurance, because insurance is there to help you with an asset when you do not have the funds. So yes, you'd never see the importance in insurance when you're doing well, because it's not for that time. It's for the time where something catastrophic happens. Okay. When something like COVID happens, and then I'm able to pause my mortgage payments because I have this type of protection. And that helped me and my wife sustain my home for a year. Right? Or like car insurance. When I was going to take my sons to football practice and I run my car into my wife's car. Okay. It would have cost me $17,000 to fix both of our cars. But because of insurance, it cost me two. Okay. I had to pay both of our deductibles. But these are the things that insurance affords you. It affords you having to pay or be disadvantaged when a disaster or a catastrophe happens. So appreciate insurance and also evaluate what's important in your life and insure things the appropriate way. I just recently got insured in the state of New Jersey as a life insurance producer because I would be telling people, getting life insurance. And they would say, do you tell people within life insurance? And I have to say no. And I got tired of saying that. So now I'm able to help people only in New Jersey set up, get their life insurance policies. And 9 out of 10, it is very cheap to cover you and your family's assets. So definitely want to look into it. Okay, so number 10 is insurances. Number 11, retirement plan. Okay, the luxury of doing everything right is getting old. Okay, and in America, the average life expectancy is 74. Okay, so with that being stated, you need to have a plan for what happens when you stop working. If you're an early person that stops working at 60, or if you stop working when you're 65, right? Or even 67, you still are going to have a few years between it. And you need to plan what those years look like. And also, I think we are actually 10 years ahead of that. So that like today, the life expectancy is 74. But the older we get, the better technology gets and the longer we live. So people today in their 30s, in their early 40s, in their 20s, they're going to live a little bit longer than people who are in their 60s and 70s today. And so it's something that you have to think about. And the smart thing to do is prepare like you would be 100. So let's just say you retire at 65 and you prepare to be 100. So you got to think, how much can I live off of for 35 years? And we do simple math, right? If I'm spending $50,000 a year and I need to live for 35 years, right? So now it's just 35 times 50. I'm going to try to do my math really quick for y'all. I'm going to say 1.7 million. I think that's right. You'll have to correct me with the calculator later, JP. But I think that's how much, that's your retirement number. So that's how much you would need before you can retire. And you want to make sure you have these numbers and have these things. And if you don't have that much, scale back. Some of us don't need $50,000 a year to live. Some of us will have our houses paid off, our cars paid off, and it would only cost you $30,000 to live, right? And so now for you to live 30 years, it's only $900,000, right? And so it's good to understand these numbers so we can have a plan for how we'll live in our retirement years. And last but not least, estate planning. We all are going to pass away one day. How you leave your assets is very important. It's very important for infighting with your family. It's very important for taxes and the government ripping your stuff away. And it doesn't matter how famous or popular you are, because even Elvis and Martin Luther King family got less than 40% of their assets because they went into probate. Okay, so how do you do this? How do you protect your assets? How do you make sure the state doesn't get in it? Number one, you have a simple will. Anybody watching this, no matter how much money you have, what's going on, you can sit down, write today's date on a piece of paper, write what assets that you have and who do you want to handle. Have somebody that you trust see it and sign it as well. Okay, it could be a lawyer, could be a friend, and put that paper somewhere safe so if something were to happen to you, people could easily find it. That is a will. Okay, it doesn't have to be any more difficult than what I just explained. It can be. You can get it notarized. You can do it with this lawyer. You can do that. You can get a trust. You can do all of these different things. But if you just want to keep it simple, grab a piece of paper, write down today's date, your birthday, your social security number, the assets that you have, who you wanted to go to. So if something happens to you, your family knows what your wishes are and can honor it, and that will protect your assets from probate. Okay. And so those are the 12 steps to financial mastery. That's your budget, your savings, your credit, your debt, and taxes. That's your foundation. You got your investing, entrepreneurship, your mentor, your mastermind. That's your growth phase. And then you have your insurances, your retirement planning, and your estate planning. That is your protection. Okay. If you master all of those 12 steps, and we have very easy, simple frameworks that we teach in our program for that, you, my friend, will become a financial master faster than you can ever realize.
Magic. How can people get into that program?
You can actually go to my Instagram, or you can go to any social media platform. My name is Larry Paul on Facebook, but it is Total Wealth 2020 on Instagram. Total Wealth is the name of the coaching program. You can book a call with me. All people have to first book a discovery call with me, because I do not coach everybody. We have to be aligned in order to coach, for me to coach you. And so, discovery is where you get to meet me, I get to meet you, and then hopefully you can graduate into that coaching program. So yes, I'll make sure, JP, you get a link. And for any of your callers that's listening, what code would I want to do? If they say free running, because I know you're a runner. So if anybody listening today, you say the phrase free running to me, I will give you a 50% discount on any coaching program I have, because you heard it from JP's podcast.
Wow, that's huge. So 50% if you type free running. We'll leave all those links in there for sure. Larry, I'm grateful. I don't know how much time you have. I know we're a little over, but I have a couple more questions if you have time. If not, we can.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's my birthday, so I get to ignore everybody today, and they got to deal with it.
All right. So I guess what would some common myths be around? You could take any of those 12 steps you want, but I'm kind of thinking about just getting started, saving, investing. What are some common myths?
Common myths. Okay, common myth number 1, it takes a long time. It doesn't take a long time. It'll actually happen faster than you think it will. What tends to take us the longest time is making a decision to say, I'm going to follow this structure. It takes about 81 to 90 days to form a new habit. Okay. So really, if you practice these habits that I'm going to be holding you accountable for 81 to 90 days, you will be now on a pace for a completely new financial future. So the time misconception. The next thing I want to do is, you do not have to be a certain type of smart. You do not have to have an accounting degree. You do not need to be a master of money to master your finances, because this is not easy. It's simple. Okay. It's so simple that a kid can learn it. And so I really like people to understand it doesn't matter what financial situation you're in. I have a mentor that owed the IRS $1.8 million at one point in time. Okay. So, and he now is, let's just say he's doing very well. So because of these things, it lets me know there is no financial position you cannot get out of. Right. And so with that being said, those are like my top 2. It does not take as long as a lot of people think it does. And just imagine if it took you 3 years to be rich, but you'll be rich the rest of your life. Isn't it worth those 3 years?
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, so, and then it's easier than you think, or it's more simple than you think.
Yeah, you just definitely got to take the action, right? Thinking we get stuck in our head, and it's then we talk ourselves out of these things sometimes. I think another one, you were talking about insurances, and I'm wondering specifically for entrepreneurs, small business, opening a company in America. We don't have it in Canada, but LLC. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Yes, LLC. So if you have an LLC, it depends on what nature of work you do. But we have this one insurance company. It's called Next Insurance, and they are small business friendly. They will insure bits. So I learned about them because I do some real estate. My father does real estate contracting, and so we needed policies of $1 million or more for certain projects and certain jobs. But my dad and my uncle didn't understand that they didn't have to pay that amount. They needed the insurance for that amount. So I did some researching for them, and I found out that you can have these amounts of insurance for as low as $99 a month for LLCs. And so for anybody that's doing anything with the general public, you should be protecting yourself, because although you may know you're good, and although you may not have bad intentions, if somebody else feels disrespected, if they feel like you did not do what you told them you were going to do. You want to be protected. You don't want to threaten your business. And that's what insurance is for. It's for protection. You know what I mean? So I recommend most of my clients to start off with Next Insurance, and then, Next Insurance online platform, they would go on, fill it out. They tend to have cheaper rates between $100 and $500 a month. And so that's where I tend to send them. But it's very important, man, just to make sure your business is safe, especially when you start to get massive and have a lot of clients. Because as we grow, we are unable to pay as much attention.
Right. And part of where I'm going there is to have the LLC in place, because some people don't. They just open a company, they start a business, they start taking money, and something, like you said, it's not intentional. Just stuff happens and accidents can happen. But if you have an LLC and you got insurance, then you're protected for that. And it just brings a lot of peace of mind, which helps you sleep better.
Absolutely. So the good thing is, I tell people we got to earn everything. And when you do that, it makes you feel better. So in America, if you do not make over a certain amount of money, then you do not have to claim that money, right? Because you get what's called the standard deduction. I believe this year it's up to $14,500. So if you make less than that, you do not have to report. So a lot of people, I say, before you create an LLC, you're allowed to have a hobby, and you're allowed to see if you can make money with your hobby. So before you go out and start an LLC and just start paying money to see if you can make money, prove to yourself you can first. Once you make over 15 grand, now you've earned the right to start your LLC. Okay. So this is the way that I teach it, because this will also stop it, because most businesses fail in the first 3 years because they are not prepared. And so if we help them become more prepared before they become LLCs, we'll have a higher success rate. And I'm going to have to do some research in Canada so I can get you and your audience some stats that go with you.
I already got you. So it's HST, it's called deduction, and it's about 30,000. So if you're making less than 30,000 a year, you don't even have to claim that HST.
Wow, that's awesome, man. And so America can learn some things from that. But one thing I will say about our incoming president, normally when he is in charge of the tax code, the tax code tends to be a bit more simpler, and people tend to get bigger returns. So I'm looking forward to doing taxes next year for people and seeing the changes. So I'm excited about that. But man, 30,000 write-off. I think they're about to do that for businesses here. All business.
It's not the same number though. Like you're like a gallon of gas here is probably $6.
Oh no, in New Jersey, it's about at $2.80 right now.
Yeah, I just went to Florida over Christmas, and like you could see, the further south you go, it gets cheaper and cheaper. Right? But the most we found was like $4, and that was like right off the highway where they're getting you. But I was just like, man. So the exchange is crazy. Like, so the 30,000, it ends up being the same number almost. I have a couple more questions. Maybe, I don't know if you want to talk about it. If you don't, you can't. So when you brought up Trump, I just saw something that he just repealed a 1965 act, Equal Opportunity Employment Act. So I would love to get your thoughts on that.
So I think when I first heard it, my thoughts and feelings were like most people, right? I didn't like it. I don't understand why he would do that, right? But then I'm always a person to look at the other side of the coin, right? In the world we live in today, why do we even need it? Like, I get it, but how many people, what I would like to do a study on is how many people have gone to court or taken it or been discriminated against and used this in a court of law? Because what if it's zero? That means it's just not effective, right? And if we're spending money on it, that could be wasteful. So it depends on the research, the data. We get so excited when we hear stuff, and we don't do any research. So before I get very opinionated or get emotional, I try to take a step back, breathe, and dig in a little bit more. So I have to be honest with you. I need a little bit more time to kind of see what will happen. But my thing is, what Trump will do if some of these things are too radical is he's going to unite Americans to do things that would be just as radical. So like, When you talk about impeachments, when you talk about, Republicans switching to Democrats and voting everybody out, like these are the things that would happen. But I really don't I think he promised people on his campaign certain things he was going to do. And on day one, he started to do it. And to be honest, I respect that. Like, I respect the urgency. This man has 4 years to change our country around, right? So I respect the urgency of doing some of the things he said. Obviously, the people who are complaining are on the opposite side, right? And so didn't vote for him. They don't agree. But in America, once our president is elected, what we are supposed to do is drop the parties, and we are supposed to support our president. I did not vote for Donald Trump. He is my president today. So I'm supposed to support my president. And that is being American. So that's normally what I try to do, is just support who's ever there. And, it shows, to me, it's like bad sportsmanship, right? It's like talking bad about the team that beats you in sports. I'm not going to be
Sure. Yeah.
right?
I love it. I love the idea of just like looking at both sides, the Socratic questioning, and the idea of like, maybe in 1965, it was different. Maybe the gap isn't there anymore. Maybe it doesn't matter. People aren't looking at color anymore. And it's like, who's just the best candidate for the job? So maybe that's part of the reason. I don't know. I saw that earlier today, and then when you were talking about Trump, but I have two more questions maybe. And one was, we talked about, you talked about making a habit, being 90 days, 81 days. There's all sorts of numbers out there. Listeners of this show will know my tool, the N90 protocol. That's exactly why I have that tool, because I believe 90 days, it locks it in and it becomes automated. And that's what we're trying to do. Earlier, you talked about mentorship, and that's the M. My tool is called My5, and that's just, you could do it online. Hang out with 5 different mentors or people that you want to learn from for 12 minutes a day. You do that with 5 people each day for an hour. You spend 1 hour learning 5 different areas, and boom, in a 90-day period, your whole life will change. It's not too long a time period that you're wasting time if it doesn't work out. And it's also a long enough time period that you can test, measure, collect evidence, and see if it's for you. And if it is, you do another 90 days. So with all that being said, we talked a little about the mastermind. So I want to open up the mastermind conversation a bit more. And I want to talk about how important networking is.
So networking is very important. And I think how to network and strategizing for networking is of utmost importance, right? And I teach this to young men because I started to go to real estate meetups. I do a lot of business development mixers and stuff like that. And I see people talking to individuals for an hour, right? Because they met each other, the energy spark, boom. But the question is, what was your intention before you came out? Right. And to me, so many people do networking without setting intention. And so they miss the mark. Right. If I go out, the first thing I should be asking myself is, who do I want to meet tonight? What's the best thing that can happen tonight? Right. These are questions you should actively be asking yourself and answering on the way to your destination. So then when you get there, you could be attracting that energy. Also, you need to have 2 important questions. What do you have? What do you need? Those 2 important questions. When you ask somebody, what do they have? You're asking them, what are they good at? What do you do in the community? What do you have for sale? Right? Then they're going to tell you. Then you're going to ask them, what do you need? Most people are not asked, can I help you? What types of things do you need in your business to advance? So you ask people, what do you need? And they're going to tell you exactly what they need. And your job is to listen actively to hear if what you have can fill that need. Because if it does, that's somebody you want to set an appointment.
100%, man. I got this. I went to this thing in Austin, Texas. It was like a coaching conference, seminar thing. And my intention going there, I had a bunch, but one of them was to connect with 100 people. And so when I got there, I met like 2 people that I already knew from before. And they kind of wanted to just do that, talk for an hour. Not even. They wanted to like hang out the whole time and go out for dinner every night of the weekend. And I'm like, I appreciate you, but you know what? Like, we're here for this. So like, because the network is your net worth, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And there's a lot of, I'm sorry, folks. There's a lot of good people out here who have great intentions of just being a good person, but not everybody is ready to do the work to be successful. And so if success is something that you really want, you got to really learn how to have discernment and know when somebody is wasting your time and also when you're wasting theirs. Because it can happen both ways. Because we all get a little excited and we all let our emotions take over sometimes and things like that. But like you said, if you had a goal to meet 100 people and you only have 2 days, right? You got to meet 30 people. You got to meet 50 people a day. And then if it's only 8 hours in that day where y'all going to be around each other, so then now you got to meet about 5-6 people per hour to meet that 100 people per day. For that trip, right? And so now you don't have that luxury to talk to everybody, but you could get in a group. Hey, what do you have? What do you?
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
Right? Absolutely. And then also the mastermind, man. You said it. The reason why that's so important too, guys, is because my mastermind, we have individuals in there that have skills that help each other with things. We could have never afforded without them. We would have never had without them. And it allows us to barter services. I've had financial discussions with people, help people create budgets and create systems. And the first 15th and the 30th, that's my personal system. But other people have shown me theirs, and they have amazing tracking systems where they track once a week, right? Or they track every couple of days because they just like the flow of that. And so there is no right way to get to success. And that's why I love success so much. Because success is just what did Earl Nightingale say? He says success is just the culmination of going out to obtain a worthy ideal. So you just want to be on a path and you're successful.
Amazing. And so the reason I think that mastermind is so important, exactly what you just said, but on top of it, going back to that blue ocean strategy where people start bringing in different information, then it helps you to think differently. And you start getting asked questions that you maybe normally wouldn't have thought of, or the people that in your own niche aren't looking at. And so it allows you to grow in so many ways. So I see your mastermind. I was blessed enough to be invited through a mutual friend we have to watch. And I could feel it. It was magic. And just the way you guys all support each other. And I know you saw my mastermind the other day, and it's just, you need that. And you need other people's opinions. You need contrasting opinions if you really, truly want to grow, right? Socrates, he didn't care if he was right or wrong. He just wanted to know what was the best answer.
That is when you're dealing with a person of growth, because right and wrong don't matter and they almost don't exist, right? We are so quick to want to judge good and bad. But then in the next sentence, we'll say we're not supposed to judge each other. But as soon as you say good or bad, what you did unbeknownst was you judged something. If you think something is good, you judged it. If you think something is bad, you judged it. And it's okay, but we just have to be careful. So what I also like to tell people is judging doesn't mean I'm not going to think this way or think that way. Not judging means I'm not going to treat you different because of it. I have a lot of thoughts that run through my mind. I don't treat the people that I'm interacting with differently because of any of those thoughts.
Emotional mastery too. That's another big component that we didn't have time to talk about today. I have 2 final questions. I know I said that. One of them is a question I ask everybody. This is the Phase 4 podcast, and Phase 4 in the 6 phase meditation by Vishen Lakhiani is all about creating your future 3 years from today. So where is Larry Paul 3 years from today?
3 years from today, Larry Paul is doing a bit more public speaking, because I have my first conference coming up in March this year. I'm very excited about that. So I'll be doing a bit more public speaking, getting paid to spread this knowledge around, not just in my home community, but in other communities like mine. I will also be exposing people to my full platform called Total Wealth. So Total Wealth takes into the 6 factors of wealth. Financial mastery is just one. We also have emotional wealth. We have mental wealth, physical wealth, financial wealth, generational wealth, and spiritual wealth. So those are the 6 factors that you kind of dive into when you also deal with me in my mentorship program. So we start off with the money because that is so surface level and most people see that as immediately. But then we also kind of go through all the other things because everything works together, right? Your attitude and the way you think about people and the relationships you have and how fulfilled you feel on a daily basis. And also, if you have kids, are you thinking about the next generation? And if you don't, you can still think about the next generation, right? And so it's just being able to understand how to be a whole, healthy, happy person.
Wow, that's awesome. So the 6 factors of wealth, we're gonna have to do a whole nother episode about that. And the physical wealth part, I think I could see a couple marathon medals in there for you.
2026, man. I told you, I just started running. JP, you inspired me, man. You were doing something where you were like recording yourself running through a beautiful forest every other day. And I was watching you do those recordings, man. And then I also have another friend. His name is Amoon. He actually helped me get licensed with life insurance, but he is training for his first marathon in 8 weeks. And so over these last couple of months, if you would have asked me in November, do I work out? I would have said, yeah. And if you would have said, all right, do you run? I would have said, I hate it. Like, I hate running. And in December, I said, I'm going to just do things I say that I hate doing and see what happens. And I started running. On a Sunday, I said, I'm going to go out and I'm going to run 5 miles. And I went out and I walked mostly, but I jogged and I walked 5 miles. And it took me like an hour and a half. And I felt proud of myself. I was tired, but I felt good. And every Sunday since then, I've gone back and I've run 8 miles. Is the long 8.5, 9 miles is like where I'm at right now. But every week I've gone just more and more and more and for a little bit further. And so, man, just enjoying the journey and not realizing I could fall in love with running in 2 months.
Yeah, I love that. That's so important. And it's such a great thing for growth, like it's such a good visual for everyone, right? You don't have to go the whole distance. You go a little bit at a time and it adds up. So my last question is probably going to make it into 2 questions, but if you have something to sell, sell it. If you have a message of hope or inspiration, where you're going to be in March, you can tell us, and then also where we can reach you all together.
Yes. So in March, my first conference, that is the Calling Conference. So that conference, I have a few other people. We are 5 speakers. We are going to be doing different keynotes on the 5 F's of mastering yourself. So that's faith, family, finances, your foundation, and your freedom. And so we will be having speakers speak on that. I will be the keynote for the finance section. And so that is going to be awesome. We're going to have some vendors there. But the whole point of the convention and the conference is to help people find the mentors, find the communities, find the resources that's going to help them get to that next step and find their calling. And which is why we call it the Calling Conference. And so that's going to be amazing. Tickets are out now. If you are in the United States, especially in New Jersey, I will make sure I share the link with JP so you can get a hold of that. That's going to be on March 22nd, Saturday, March 22nd. It's going to be awesome, right in the capital of Trenton, New Jersey, which is also, fun fact, the first capital of the United States of America.
Wow.
Yep.
That's great. Okay, Larry, I'm just so grateful for your time. This conversation was awesome. I know we got way over, and I'm sure we could have doubled it easily. I wish you a happy birthday, and I'm really grateful for you, brother.
Thank you, JP. And I can't wait for our next conversation, man.